how to make money with a webinar. A lot of people say that webinars are dead, and hold on just a second, I'm just counting how many millions I've made with them. They're not dead. People just do them wrong. Let's dive in. I'm going to show you exactly how I make money with automated webinars in my business. All right, so one of the strategies that we use is to create webinars, right? Get them to a point where they're largely automated, and then we just kind of step back and while we watch it, and then just go do it again. And just go do it again, and go do it again. And it's a great strategy. I used to run a 3-day event for Russell Brunson called the FAT event, the Funnel Hackathon. And the Funnel Hackathon, my role for 3 days was to teach people webinars. So I'm just telling you that so that you know, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the webinar space. It is not dead. What people just need to see is how it works today. And so that's what I'm going to show you. Here's some things that you should keep in mind for your next webinar. Let's go into it. So first, let's talk about what a webinar even is. Okay, because webinars, often people think that they have to be these 2-hour-long presentations with all these slides, and it's got to be this big, massive production. There's tons of pages in the sales funnel. And that is a method, not the method, okay? That's a way of doing this game. A webinar is nothing more than a sales conversation, okay? That's all it is. It's a presentation around a sales conversation. I remember growing up, my parents buying different kinds of, the life insurance. That person would come over to our house. They'd sit down and give a presentation to my parents. They would buy, right? Or not buy. It's the same thing. All you're doing is automating the sales conversation. So don't think of webinar in terms of in fact, we don't call them webinars anymore. We call them presentation funnels, okay? Where we're just basically, it's an automated sales presentation that someone can go learn more about. Some buy, some say I have a few questions before I buy, and some don't buy. That's fine. That's all it is. So the idea that it has to be this big, massive 2-hour thing where it's this huge follow-up sequence and it's this massive, huge production, that is a way, and it is not wrong, and it doesn't mean webinars are dead if you're not figuring out how to do that. All it means is that your industry may not like that. Did you hear what I just said? If you know some of the cool, famous people as well in our funnel land, Brandon and Kaylin Poulin, they are fitness experts, and they started trying to do the 2-hour webinar, lots of pages, all this stuff, and their industry wasn't really, they're in the fitness space, their industry didn't really like that. They weren't really getting a lot of sales. So instead of saying, write off webinars like they don't work, all they did was shorten the webinar. Instead of a 2-hour thing, it was 15 minutes on a Facebook Live. That's still a webinar. Okay? That's still it's always funny to me when somebody says it doesn't work. That's not true at all. If you sold anything ever to anyone at any point on accident, there was probably some kind of conversation you had. That's still a sales presentation. We're just automating that conversation on the internet. So let's dive into a few more of these principles and how we actually pull them off. Now that you kind of broaden the definition of a webinar, okay? It's because it's any time that we go and have a sales conversation and we just automate it on the internet. That sounds smart for any company to do. Do it. Now, do you guys remember when you were in school and they were teaching you how to count, and you literally are doing longhand division and you're doing subtraction and addition, and you remember the day they pulled out a calculator and you were like, why the heck did we not just go right to this at the first moment? You remember that? You remember the frustration you felt about that? Sometimes the original way we do a webinar funnel is kind of like how you first did longhand division, okay? I treat webinar funnels as the litmus test for big products. If I can get it to work in one of these, oh baby, then we're off to the races and I can scale that sucker like crazy. If I can get my webinar to work in kind of like the classic formula for a webinar funnel, then I know, and it doesn't matter if you're doing info products, I can already hear it. Well, I'm not an info product, I'm not a coach consultant, that's fine. We've made funnels for some of the most ridiculous things out there. There's a food storage webinar funnel, it doesn't matter, okay? That's SaaS software, info, obviously. People have done it for e-com. It doesn't matter if it's a service. I always laugh that people think a product and service is different. Your service is the product. It's the same thing. Okay, that's it. There's no difference because you might be a service. So this is a classic webinar funnel. And this is pretty much how it works. It's basically at the top right here, somebody registers. You have a headline that they're like, I would like to learn that. And this headline, they go and they register and it says, cool, this webinar, this little countdown clock that says, this presentation will be starting live or automated at X time, right? At X time here. So just stay tuned, and we're going to send you over to the actual webinar here soon. So on the actual broadcast page is where we do the actual webinar. And the biggest pushback I'll hear sometimes is like, I don't have to do a 2-hour webinar. You don't have to. This could be 5 minutes, all right? That's fine. I know some really, really, really high ticket products, right? Like $30, $40, $50,000, $100,000. It's like a 10-minute thing, all right? It doesn't have to be this massive time bomb that sits inside of your brain. So once somebody has seen the broadcast, then we're gonna send to them the replay page, right? And there's varying strategies for all this. I'm going pretty vanilla right here. Then what we do is if we're like, hey, you wanna go buy this thing, here is the checkout page, all right? Here is the order right there. Here's the checkout page. We're like, yeah, we wanna buy. Or if you're selling something that requires a phone call, then we don't push to an order page, we just push to a phone number. We say, call us. Right? If your point of sale isn't on the internet and it has to be offline, because some of you are that way and I totally get it, then don't push to an order page. Just say on the thing, call us, right? Or push to a page that has an application, or push to a page that has a scheduling link. Okay? This part right here is very different depending on what you're in, but this is still the same. And that's why I laugh when someone says like, oh, webinars don't work. It's like, that's actually garbage. You're just being a chump that can't figure out how to do it and you're complaining. Just the reality, all right? If that's stiff, whatever. Yeah, because I'm sick of that notion. If you have ever talked to someone and they bought, you did this process. We're just automating this process. Real quick, before I move on to the rest of this, what is a sales funnel? A sales funnel is an offer and a message. That's it. Because we put it on the internet, that's a method. But when I was a door-to-door salesman, I'm knocking on the door, I give the offer, I give the message, and try to sell someone on their door. I was the funnel. And so all we're doing is we're automating your sales message and your offer. That's it. That's all these pages are. So if you don't have this, but you're still selling, you still have a funnel. Does that make sense? That's the other reason why I smash this so much. It drives me nuts. All we're doing is taking your offer and your message and we're automating it. Cool. You want to come watch it? Here's the offer, here's the message, bam. It's just an automated conversation. That's all this is. And I hope that really drops down. Oh, it doesn't have to be this highfalutin, massively advanced funnel strategy. No. In fact, the simpler and the smaller, the better usually, okay? So what we do though is we have this funnel. I want to talk to you real quick about the follow-up series. Somebody opts in and says, hey, here's the link to go watch it. Hey, here's the link, a few hours later, here's the link to go buy. We're like, hey, a few hours later, here's the replay. Hey, here's the replay and a reminder to go buy. Here's the replay and a reminder to go buy. Here's the replay and a reminder to go buy. Okay, that's the follow-up sequence. Okay, and that's basically it. That's the funnel. It's a simple funnel. There's a really crazy ways to make it complicated, but there are templates galore that you can download in ClickFunnels for free for that. What's up, guys? Before we go on to how to actually talk about and talk in your message, hit the like and the subscribe button if you would. Appreciate it like crazy. We spent a lot of time putting these together. I'd also like to know down in the comments below, what was the last webinar you did? And if I'm smashing some beliefs, and if you're like, oh my gosh, webinars aren't what I thought they were, funnels aren't what I thought they were, take it from the former lead funnel builder at ClickFunnels. This game is actually pretty simple. What is the coolest sales message that you guys have seen lately through a webinar? Let's toss it down below. Be cool to have a little bank of that in the comments. Now finally, I want to talk about what you're actually saying on your actual presentation. Okay, now this does not need to be massively successful, like high level thing. What you're saying on the presentation is actually pretty simple. This is all we're doing. The biggest mistake, let me start it off that way, that people make when doing their actual thing, when doing the actual presentation is this. They teach, and teaching is not selling. Let me explain this just a little bit here. When I was a door-to-door sales guy, again, another story from that, I did really well. My second summer, I was one of the top guys, and I did really well for the first half of the summer. And something happened about halfway through. Okay, I was selling pest control. Okay, so I'd knock on a door, and they'd be like, hey, how's it going? I'd be like, hey, I had to do my little spiel. And I was selling pest control, so someone would be like, hey, does it kill ants? And at the beginning, I didn't know how, I just knew that it did. I'd be like, yeah. So it was like debit or credit. Yeah, because of course it kills ants, right? Well, a little bit into the summer, I started realizing, what if I actually learned why it kills ants? Okay, so I started doing all this education, and I started learning all this stuff. And the next time I knocked on a door, and someone was like, does it kill ants? I was like, oh, I'm prepared. Does it? right? Yeah, because man, I memorized here's the chemical compounds on why it kills the ants. Here's the reason why, the season it works the most in. And remember, there's the egg cycles. And I mean, I vomited on them so much. They're like, okay, just shut up. Like, I just say yes or no, right? Most people don't want to know how the engine works. Just where do I put the key? Okay, so this is one of the biggest reasons people have a hard time with the webinar platform. It's not that the funnel doesn't work. They literally suck at selling, okay? And they literally teach themselves out of a sale. Classic mistake. In fact, I was talking with Russell this last week, and I was like, dude, I did a webinar, and I can tell I taught too much. And he and I say that to it frequently because we like teaching. But when you are doing a webinar, stop teaching. Selling is not teaching. So Steve, what do we do then? This is all we do. It's a very simple solution. Okay, it equals stories. And all we're doing is we're grabbing stories about the actual thing that you want to go sell. And we're telling stories about that and its success and people's success around it and why you came up with it and how come it's a powerful thing. Now, there might be a little teaching here and there, but as best you can, don't teach. So the way we get around that also in our head is a simple phrase. We want to teach the what, not the how. I don't teach on webinars how to do exactly what I'm talking about. There's no reason for them to buy after that. Okay, classic mistake. One of the major reasons people think that webinars don't work, when the truth is they literally are just sucky salespeople. Now this video is how to make money with a webinar. So how do we do that? First off, if you have a list, promote to your list, right? Tell them the url.com, send them there and start getting people through there. What do you do when you run out? Guys, you have to get used to the idea that you're gonna spend money in order to get people's attention, okay? Ads. And our whole goal, you have to understand this last piece here, is our entire goal is to be able to put $1 in advertising. It might shock you, but it's actually to also get $1 back out. Doesn't that mean we're breaking even? Yeah. Breaking even is $1 million scenario online because anything you sell them next is pure profit. You already acquired the buyer. Does that make sense? That's why this internet game is so attractive for all of us who understand this very key principle. Now, I tell my I tell my ads guys, look, the revenue I want $1 in and 2 out. I want to put $1 in and weekly. What other machine do you know does that? If someone came to you and said, I have an investment that'll give you 200% return, ROI every week, you'd be like, you're a scammer, right? But in this game, that's that's normal, right? In fact, $2 out for us is really low, and my ads guy goes crazy if that's that low. It's not uncommon for us to go $5 out or $10 out weekly. That's why this game works so well. So understand that hopefully this has shown you more about how to make money with webinars and why it's actually such a powerful thing. In fact, there's not a company that I know of that doesn't have some form of some automated sales message on the internet. It's kind of a qualifier to kill it now on the internet. Hey, I got a free gift for you as a thank you for watching. Go to launchforprofit.com. You can download a free PDF there that is literally some of my favorite strategies to make money on the internet. If you're like, how do I make money with a webinar? Maybe you're trying to figure out how to make money on the internet in general. Go to launchforprofit.com. Those are my favorite internet launch strategies.